Drew Barrymore wasn't just born into Hollywood. She practically slid out onto a red carpet. With a family tree that reads like a Tinseltown casting list, Drew had stardom in her DNA. Her great-grandparents were Broadway royalty, her grandfather John Barrymore was the Shakespeare guy of his time, and her father was, well, more into partying than performing. So when Drew landed her breakout role in E.T. at the ripe age of 7, it wasn't surprising. What was surprising was how quickly she became the tiny toast of the town, charming audiences and late-night hosts alike with the confidence of someone 3 decades older. As Spielberg put it, she was 7 going on 29. That's not a compliment, it's a red flag with glitter. Childhood, but make it Studio 54. Most kids at 8 are focused on learning how to multiply or trying to keep their Tamagotchis alive. Not Drew Barrymore. She was busy navigating velvet ropes at Hollywood nightclubs with her mom, Jade, who functioned more like a chaotic bestie than a legal guardian. Drew's bedtime stories were red carpets and rap parties. Her first drink? Champagne at a fire starter celebration, courtesy of the crew. Things escalated faster than a Hollywood scandal. By 10, she was casually smoking weed. By 12, she was doing cocaine like it was a middle school science project. At 13, rehab wasn't a parental threat, it was her reality. While most kids were picking out backpacks, Drew was picking out rehab centers. Her adolescence wasn't a coming-of-age story. It was more like a behind-the-scenes documentary on celebrity meltdowns. But what's wild is that through all of it, Drew somehow remained likable, a glittery, messy human tornado you couldn't help but root for. Who needs recess when you're clubbing with A-listers and hiding your juice box behind a martini glass? The Barrymore legacy. To say Drew Barrymore comes from a legendary Hollywood family is like saying Shakespeare dabbled in writing. The Barrymores are basically American acting royalty, with a family tree bursting with Oscars, stage plays, and excessive drinking. Her grandfather, John Barrymore, was one of the greatest Shakespearean actors of all time, and also a man who might have seen more bars than performances. Her great-aunt Ethel and great-uncle Lionel weren't just talent. They were walking, talking masterclasses in both drama and drama-filled living. Legend has it, when John died, his friends stole his body from the morgue to have one last party with him. That's not just morbid, it's peak Barrymore. Drew didn't just inherit cheekbones and screen presence, she got the full Barrymore cocktail: talent, chaos, and a knack for doing everything loudly and dramatically. It's like being handed a family heirloom that's half Oscar statue, half empty whiskey bottle. And while many Barrymores crashed and burned, Drew decided to break the cycle, eventually trading blackout nights for box office hits: Rehab, Rebellion, and The Road to Emancipation. By the time Drew was 13, her house looked less like a home and more like a deleted scene from Animal House. And not even the fun part. After a booze-fueled meltdown that included wrecking her mom's place, Jade finally threw in the towel and sent her daughter to a psychiatric facility. But this wasn't one of those luxury rehabs with yoga, smoothies, and ocean views. No, this was a no-nonsense, lock-the-door, solitary confinement if you act up kind of joint. Drew called it No Beachside Malibu Rehab BS, which is code for I met rock bottom and its grumpy roommate. Strangely enough, it worked. The structure, therapy, and forced adulting hit her like a cold shower after a decade-long party. At 14, she walked out, legally emancipated and officially her own boss. Sounds glamorous, right? Until you realize being your own guardian at 14 means figuring out rent, groceries, and how to avoid pervy producers. While her peers were picking out prom dresses, Drew was picking out affordable health insurance and life lessons in bulk. From party girl to barista, Hollywood is quick to hand you champagne when you're 7, and even quicker to ghost you when you're sober at 17. After years of being everyone's favorite adorable cautionary tale, Drew found herself blacklisted and broke. With no roles coming in, she swapped red carpets for coffee stains and started working at a cafe. Yes, Drew Barrymore, E.T.'s Gertie, serving lattes and dodging starstruck customers squinting suspiciously over their cappuccinos. Aren't you? Nope, I'm just your friendly neighborhood barista who definitely wasn't in rehab last year. But even with steamed milk in one hand and humility in the other, Drew never let go of her love for acting. She described it as a bloodline pull, the kind of itch that almond milk foam just couldn't scratch. Rejected by the same industry that once worshipped her, she quietly plotted her comeback between espresso shots and existential dread. Enter the bad girl era. In 1992, Drew found a script for Poison Ivy, a steamy, edgy role where she played a seductive teen. It was risky, raw, and frankly, her only shot. The film didn't win Oscars, but it put Drew back on the radar. She leaned into the bad girl image, but this time, it was on her terms. She followed it up with films like The Amy Fisher Story and a now iconic Playboy shoot at 17. Spielberg sent her a quilt and a note that read "Cover Up." This was Drew 2.0. Fierce, free, and slightly scandalous. A knight in shiny leather. For her Sweet 16, Drew Barrymore didn't get a cake or a sleepover. She got a nightclub full of questionable decisions and people who thought ID checks were optional. But just as things were about to go full Hollywood cautionary tale, in walked Keanu Reeves. Silent, brooding, and dressed like a leather-clad life coach. Without a single word, he grabbed Drew's hand, pulled her out of the club, and put her on the back of his motorcycle like some kind of motorcycle-riding fairy god bro. Off they zoomed through the neon-lit streets of L.A., probably passing 3 other child actors making bad choices. That ride wasn't just thrilling, it was a wake-up call with handlebars. For once, Drew felt high without substances, fast without spiraling, and free without consequences. Keanu didn't need to lecture, he just showed her a better way. The man has rescued humanity in The Matrix, avenged a dog in John Wick, and apparently saved Drew Barrymore from bad club life. Honestly, what can't this man do? Kisses, karaoke, and kick-ass angels. After years of navigating Hollywood like a barefoot girl on hot coals, Drew finally hit her groove in the late 90s and early 2000s. With Never Been Kissed, The Wedding Singer, and 50 First Dates, she became the queen of quirky charm and emotional honesty. She even rebooted her action persona in Charlie's Angels, kicking butt alongside Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu. It was official. Drew had gone from tabloid troublemaker to beloved box office darling, and the critics? They were too busy laughing and crying at her movies to remember her mugshots. The talk show that talks back. When the Drew Barrymore Show launched in 2020, no one knew what to expect. Would it be weird? Yes. Chaotic? Also, yes. But it's also deeply authentic. Drew created a safe space for real conversations, especially with fellow child stars and trauma survivors. From Paris Hilton to Jeanette McCurdy, guests opened up to her in ways they couldn't with anyone else. Because Drew gets it. She's not pretending. She's not reading a cue card version of sympathy. She's lived the pain, felt the fallout, and clawed her way through the muck. That makes her one of the most relatable voices on daytime TV, while also occasionally rolling on the floor in a designer dress. Drew Barrymore, the comeback queen who refuses to quit. So what makes Drew Barrymore different from all the other Hollywood burnouts who fizzled into obscurity or became cautionary memes? Simple. She's honest. Wildly, unapologetically, tearfully honest. She owns her past without shame, embraces her weirdness with joy, and never stops working on herself. She's battled addiction, abandonment, and a reputation that could have ended her. Instead, she rebuilt herself. One role, one hug, one brutally honest interview at a time, and now, she's not just surviving, she's thriving. Drew Barrymore didn't just get a second act, she earned a standing ovation. If Drew Barrymore's story blew your mind like it did ours, don't forget to hit that like button. Got a favorite Drew moment or chaotic Hollywood tale? Drop it in the comments. We're all ears and popcorn. Make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the wild lives of your favorite stars.